What is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike Singer and Kyle Kelly live on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel for this week's Notre Dame recruiting update. Appreciate everyone watching live, watching back, and listening to this as a podcast. A lot to discuss. We are the past several weeks have been so much of just reporting on who is visiting, and it is huge for Notre Dame this spring and summer. There's just no way to say it other than just that. For all of the angst about Notre Dame recruiting right now, everything can turn around. Um, you know, and if that's even the right term, it might not be. We'll discuss that in a little bit with Kyle Kelly. It's just there's so much opportunity on the horizon for Notre Dame. We're going to discuss some of the latest. We're going to discuss some individual players and whatnot, but I also want to go to just in a moment, like a big picture outlook on Notre Dame recruiting. And folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content. Kyle, everything well on your end, man? Where's your rollback, brother?
Yeah, I have it. Just didn't have time to put it on, believe it or not. This morning has been pretty hectic. This whole week's felt pretty hectic, especially today with all the visit reporting that we've been doing on Blue and Gold. Not an excuse, but I don't know, maybe an explanation for why I'm not repping Roback today.
Shame. I look baller, not gonna lie. I don't get to say that very often, but Roback is the one time I get to say that. We'll talk about Roback in a little bit. So, Kyle, you wrote an article recently about not being worried about the amount of commits right now. I want to get your take on that, but I feel like there's such angst. I think that might be a good term about recruiting right now, with USC landing all these commitments and Notre Dame hasn't. And who's the last one? Merrill? Was Merrill at the end of January the last commit for Notre Dame? Kyle's nodding. It's slower in terms of commitments right now. But let me say this, Notre Dame fan. The Irish will go on lulls in the fall with commitments, and we lose our mind. And I always tell you guys, it doesn't matter when they commit. It matters about who commits. So Notre Dame is going to land around 25 guys in this class. And it doesn't matter if they all commit on signing day or if they all commit right now. It matters about who you get. So don't worry about momentum. Worry about who you have, right? Like Notre Dame, when you look through the Notre Dame's commit list right now and you yell at me, why does On3 rank Noah Grubbs this? Why is this guy ranked this? So you're telling me that you like Notre Dame's class more than they're ranked, but at the same time, you're upset about where Notre Dame is ranked. Like you think that Notre Dame's not recruiting well enough. So we got to talk about which one are we choosing here. So just keep that in mind. Don't freak out right now. Kyle, what do you think?
I think Notre Dame's right where it needs to be honest. I don't know how fast you want me to dive into my story.
Go for it.
Specifically, the first one I wrote last week about kind of the timing of Notre Dame's commits. Because the MO during the Chad Bowden era was to load up fast and try to keep those guys committed and get a fast start. Chad Bowden likes the number one class this time of year, and hopefully for his interests at USC, he's going to try to make sure they have the number one class when it matters most at the end of the cycle. But ironically, Chad Bowden wanted to start Notre Dame's 26 class a little bit slower. Not necessarily Chad Bowden, but that was just our understanding, the collective approach that Notre Dame was taking in the 2026 cycle. And I think this time of year...
Yeah. Let me just clarify that real quick. Not necessarily slow, just not taking guys who they feel like are 50-50 they're going to stick. They didn't want to just take a guy just for the sake of taking a guy. They just had so many early commits leave the class later on.
Yeah, and I don't know if you want to pop up my article, but I did a little breakdown via table that might be worthwhile to show. Yeah, you can bring that up and scroll down. Terrible for the podcast audience, but yeah, if you take a look there, last year, for example, Notre Dame had 19 commits. It was their fastest start they ever had in a recruiting class, but they lost 7 of those guys. So what's the point of starting
They
fast?
had 19 commits by March 17th.
Yeah.
Are
Yep.
you
A lot of them came out of that junior day, so I think that's maybe why Notre Dame fans are a little bit annoyed by the perceived lack of momentum. But just kind of summarizing my thought about this is where Notre Dame needs to be because they have pretty much all their top targets locked in for summer official visits, and then coming in to campus for the spring. I mentioned today on the Loose Emoji message board where we have our staff chat running, recruiting edition of those, is that Notre Dame's got a 5-star coming in, Rodney Dunham from North Carolina. They got a couple other 5-stars, or possible 5-stars, and tight end Ian Primer from Kansas. He's the number 25 overall player in On3's rankings. And then Ebenezer Etwade from North Carolina, number 36 overall player in On3's rankings. Both those guys, on the cusp of 5-star status. And I'm not too sure. I would have to go back and look, but I'm not too sure the number of times within the last couple springs that Notre Dame had 5-star level prospects on campus for spring unofficial visits. So I think there's a lot to be excited about for the spring with the number of recruits and the quality of talent they're coming in. And I think that the commitments will start to come together throughout the months, and Notre Dame's going to put themselves in a position to possibly finish strong during the season.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to add real quick, man. If you're a Notre Dame fan and you just want all of the updates on your team all year long, like this is why covering recruiting or following recruiting is so great, man. The highs and the lows, it's just fun. It can be frustrating. There's just always something going on. And we got you covered right here at Blue and Gold. So make sure you hit the thumbs up on this video, subscribe to the channel for more content. Go to blueandgold.com. We had, I believe we were the first report about a pair of huge targets visiting later this month. And also had a report on a top 100 overall running back visiting Notre Dame. And got some more highly ranked players, coveted big-time offers visiting Notre Dame this spring that I'm hearing from sources. Haven't reported yet, but yeah, just kind of working on getting that second source. So definitely lock into blueandgold.com. It's the place to be. Let's talk about Roback real quick. And if you like my polo, which I know you do, it looks incredible. And you can buy it at roback.com. So make sure you check it out. This is the Irish camo, so this is not necessarily Notre Dame gear. This is in their Dublin collection. But when I saw this, I was like, I have to have this. I mean, St. Patrick's Day is coming up. I'll be rocking this. So check out roback.com. The Notre Dame line is incredible. You got the Notre Dame Golden Domer. Podcast audience, just trust me, you got to go to roback.com and search Notre Dame, and you'll see these 8 items. The quarter zips are great. I love this hoodie here as well. I think I have all of them but a couple here. I've got all the polos now. The Notre Dame Stadium, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish is a fan favorite. It's what Kyle got. I'm sure he'll wear soon. The Notre Dame Golden Domer. Love all of these. Great stuff. So make sure you use, look, Blue Gold 20 gets you 20% off for your first purchase. Usually your introductory offer is like 15%. But 20% is a little bit better. And when you're talking about the prices that these polos are, 20% is substantial. And if you're scared off about the prices, listen, this stuff is made to last and feels incredible. The fit is great. Roback.com, proudly leading the NIL charge. They've signed partnerships with past Notre Dame stars like Audric Estime, Kyle Hamilton, Michael Mayer, Riley Leonard, and Ben Morrison. Is the go-to brand for college athletes, and it is the go-to brand for the Notre Dame recruiting update hosts here. So roback.com, make sure you plug in the code BlueGold20. I love my Roback. All right. Kyle, let's talk about Pot of Gold Day. So just real quick, this is something that Notre Dame has done since, I think the first year was the 2023 class where Notre Dame will kind of, I mean, if they've offered some guys in that class before, they'll like kind of officially have offered them. It's still unofficial, but it's kind of the stamp of their offer to them. But they'll offer several dozen prospects in the rising junior class. So for this year, it's the 2027 recruiting class. 2 weeks ago, Notre Dame had offered 3 guys, and they were all camp players or guys that they had camp last year. And that is going to explode by probably 60, 70, 80, 90, several dozen offers Notre Dame is going to extend on Monday. If you're scrolling Twitter, you're going to see me and Kyle and tons of prospects be tweeting about these offers. So that's really kind of the gist. It's St. Patrick's Day. Notre Dame has a built-in holiday. Why not use it for recruiting? So Notre Dame's been talking to these prospects for months about Pot of Gold Day. Like, hey, this is our day to really kick off 2027 recruiting. We want you to be a part of it. You've seen some prospects maybe not, fully understand to post their tweet on St. Patrick's Day. They've gone ahead and posted it now, but that's okay. They're a part of Pot of Gold Day. So that's kind of the rundown of that. Kyle, I wanted to let's both give 2 players that we're watching closely that we believe Notre Dame will offer on Monday for Pot of Gold in the 2027 class, and we think Notre Dame might have a good shot with. So I'll give you the floor on a couple guys.
Guys that they might have a good shot with. So, I mean, the obvious one is Richie Flanagan. I had heard from Notre Dame sources back in the fall that they were tracking the younger brother of Notre Dame 2025 class tight end signee James Flanagan pretty closely there at Notre Dame Academy and Green Bay, Wisconsin. They feel pretty excited about him. They're pretty much on the same track as the James Flanagan recruitment, where Notre Dame is going to be one of the early offers. I don't really know a whole lot about Richie Flanagan yet. I got to know James pretty well during his recruitment, though. I've met Richie a couple times, but would surprise me if he did not choose to follow in his dad and brother's footsteps by going to Notre Dame. And not to steal your thunder, because I know you predicted him to Notre Dame earlier this week. Pretty easy layup prediction, in my opinion. But hey, never know what can happen. We've seen other legacy guys choose elsewhere
this week.
So yeah. You don't ever want to write in Sharpie these guys into the class. But
you know what they say about assuming, Kyle?
Yes.
Makes an ass out of you and me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think Richie Flanagan would be a great pickup for Notre Dame if they can get him locked in early. Really like what I've seen on tape from him. Those Flanagan guys, they have a different motor, and I think Notre Dame's in good shape to add another one of those guys to the roster here soon.
All right, who else you got?
I'm going to give you the floor for your first guy, because I got to go back to my list real quick to see who I was tracking.
All right, I'll give you one, Kyle, because I had 3 picked out because I figured you'd pick one of them. I'll give you, how about this? How about you talk about Braden Parks? That's your photo there.
It is. I don't know a ton about Braden Parks yet, but I know he goes to, obviously, Brother Rice in Chicago Catholic League School. Another guy that Notre Dame's been tracking for a long time. Stopped Al Washington, specifically Notre Dame's defensive line coach, has stopped by his high school on a number of different occasions. And Notre Dame's obviously a school of early interest for him. And the thing about Notre Dame's defensive line class, this is something I'm starting to find. Maybe it's just because I just started covering Notre Dame recruiting and starting with the 2023 cycle, but it seems like there's always a good number of defensive linemen coming out of the Chicagoland area. And it's like, if Notre Dame just focuses on that area and those top guys, I mean, they can pretty much routinely add a lot of top D linemen in all national guys coming from Chicago. So Braden Parks is the next one of those guys. Notre Dame's trying to get a couple Chicagoland recruits in the fold in the 26 cycle. most notably Mikhail Blade out of Chicago Simeon, same high school as Christopher Burgess, Notre Dame 2025 class signee. Hearing Blade is looking to get on campus in the spring. Sounds like April he'll be up to campus. That would be a big visit for Notre Dame, as he was last in town for the Florida State game on November 9th. Big target for the Irish, and I imagine Braden Parks will be as well.
Yeah. We had someone ask us on our Blue and Gold message board staff chat about, is Notre Dame recruiting Chicago and Cincinnati hard enough? And I took that as, like, are they involved? Like, you can talk about their evaluations and who they land, but in terms of like how much focus does Notre Dame put on those two areas, they do not leave any stones unturned. I was talking to Notre Dame source about Chicago a couple months ago, and I was told that like Notre Dame does not want. Now this could change. You have different, people, like you have Mike Martin as the new GM, and it's such a huge part. Like he's now running the recruiting operation, or at the very least, like overseeing it, if that makes sense. So we'll see what his kind of view on Chicago is and whatnot. But anyways, I was told that like Notre Dame does not. I think I mentioned this before. Notre Dame does not want like a 3-star guy in Chicago to go to Northwestern, be an All-American, and get drafted. Like Notre Dame wants that guy at Notre Dame. They do not want like maybe like a Dom Hulock or a Joe Reef, right? If those guys are in Georgia, does Notre Dame take them? Maybe not. But you have these good-looking players from Chicago. You do not want them going to Northwestern or Iowa or Illinois and then going to the NFL. Like Notre Dame wants the top talent from Chicago. It's just, you and then you can debate their evaluations from there, but that's kind of the take there from me. So yeah, Braden Parks, I think that Notre Dame is going to have a really good chance with him. And do they just really need Mikhail Blade in the 2026 cycle, man? Like I just think that he's so crucial. And I did have an update on him earlier this week in the Gold Standard, so you guys can check that out over at blueandgold.com. I'll give my guys, and they're both at a critical position for the Fighting Irish. Julius Jones, who currently ranks as 24/7's number 7 wide receiver and Rivals number 1 wide receiver. You guys might recognize that name, as Pops may have played for the Fighting Irish a couple decades ago. 5'11", 160 pounds at the absolutely loaded. Give me a second, guys. I don't know who this Killface guy is, but I don't like him. Absolutely loaded St. Thomas Aquinas in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I mean, this is one of the best teams nationally at the high school level year in and year out. Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame's been able to land some legacy guys at tight end, James Flanagan and Bryce Young, and in recent years. And it's like, man, how about one of them? How about a borderline 5-star wide receiver legacy? Sign me up. Julius Jones, expecting Notre Dame to offer him. And so let's take a look at his offer list. Ohio State, Texas A&M, Penn State, Florida State, Miami, LSU. That's pretty damn legit. So Julius Jones Jr., keep an eye on him. He told me, I was messaging with him a little bit today, actually. And he told me that he has been waiting on the Notre Dame offer for years. And how about he was at the Penn State game, the Orange Bowl. As a South Florida native, he got to go to that game with his dad. So that's pretty cool. And then the other one is Zarek Sidney from Desert Edge High School in Goodyear, Arizona. I'm hearing very, very good things about him and how Notre Dame views him. 6 foot, 160 pounds. Some of these 20 or like early 2027 rankings, take them with a grain of salt, but Rivals ranks him as a 4-star. No other rankings just yet, but hearing very, very good things again where Notre Dame feels like they're at with him. So, I mean, receiver recruiting is just like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. It's like shame. I'm on the 8th fool here, but I'll see it when I believe it. But I don't know, man. It feels like they're on a good start early for 27 with some of the offers they're going to dish out, but we'll see. We've said that before. And then with 2026 wide receiver recruiting, they've taken some hits here recently. Trent Mosley to USC, Connor Salmon to Clemson, but Kadon Finley's still out there, and that is could make an argument he's the top receiver on the board for the Fighting Irish. Kyle, any thoughts on those guys I just talked about?
Julius Jones would be pretty refreshing to see him in the class, considering his pedigree. Obviously, Notre Dame's lost a couple legacy wide receiver targets, both brothers, the Mosley brothers out there in SoCal, Emmett going to Stanford, and had a really good freshman season for the Cardinal before he got injured. He's primed to be one of the top wide receivers in the ACC next year, and Trent Mosley is already tracking to be another outstanding wide receiver. So that loss hurt Notre Dame. Two guys they needed, and to go into Florida and get a potential 5-star guy that Ohio State's already offered, and at St. Thomas Aquinas, nonetheless, one of the top programs in the entire country. That'd be a pretty big deal for Notre Dame. So I got to imagine that Julius Jones is a guy that Marcus Freeman is going to be pretty involved with. And not a bad thing to see Arizona wide receiver on Notre Dame's possible commit list either. I mean, they need anyone they can get at that position at this point. So pretty interesting couple of names you offered us there.
Cool. Like I said earlier, I mean, we just have so much reporting going on at blueandgold.com. Like, this is the website right now. Top 100 4-star recruit from Texas sets first Notre Dame visit. Intel, massive. Notre Dame targets locked in to visit in April. That's just from this morning. So definitely the place to be, Blue and Gold. But I did want to talk about 3 players in specific that we reported on in the past week that are visiting this spring, and one of them already scheduled to officially visit in June. That's Gregory Patrick. April 4th is his visit to Notre Dame. You would have liked it to maybe be with the other O-linemen, which they're visiting at the end of March. Notre Dame's offensive line commits Tyler Merrill, Ben Nichols, and Sullivan Garvin. But hey, I'm not going to complain about a top 10 interior offensive lineman in the country visiting campus. So he'll be in South Bend April 4th, and then his official visit June 13th. 6'4.5", 280 pounds. Kind of like a swing offensive lineman between tackle and guard. Kind of gives some Anthony Knapp vibes in that sense. So Notre Dame's got 3 offensive line commits. I think they'll end up with 5 if all goes well. So what do you think about this one, Kyle? It looks like a Michigan Notre Dame battle, and I probably have like Michigan State and Penn State under the Irish and Wolverines.
Yeah, that I've felt it's Notre Dame, Michigan for a while now. I've just kept an eye on Michigan State because his dad went there. But I know you said that, it's kind of a bummer that Notre Dame commits Sullivan Garvin and Ben Nichols from Michigan aren't going to be on campus or seemingly not going to be on campus during Gregory Patrick's visit. One, I wouldn't rule that out. I mean, I'm just kind of speculating, but it's pretty easy for those guys to get there. But number 2, what if it's actually better that they're not there, because Notre Dame is sorry, my dog is coughing right now. He's making me laugh. I might have to go check on him here in a minute.
Go ahead,
he's
Kyle.
good. Nope, he's good.
All right.
Okay, Lucky's good. Anyway.
Oh, it's a great name for a dog around these parts.
Yes,
I like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, but maybe it's not a bad thing to have Gregory Patrick get to campus just kind of on his own accord and, go through that visit without, I mean, not that 2 other guys are like that would be a distraction, but it'll be, maybe a more intimate time there in South Bend. And, he obviously have the chance to get a lot of the attention. And plus, Nichols and Garvin, they see Gregory Patrick all the time, apparently, as a lot of those guys work out together. So I imagine all those guys are working on him pretty hard. And man, what a O-line class it would be if you can get Nichols, Patrick, and Garvin all in the fold, all of the Great Lakes State. Even though Michigan's only offered Patrick, I think some of those guys are not only the best prospects at the position in the Midwest, but in the entire country. So Notre
Holy
Dame,
hell, look at that red field.
yeah, that is Orchard Lake St. Mary's, I think. But yeah,
Yeah, Notre Dame's
that's my take on Gregory Patrick.
I think Notre Dame is that receiver, that walk on was like a G5 level wide receiver, I think, from the school, St. Mary's. I forget his name. I think he ended up at like a Ivy League, but interesting. Yeah. Moving on, Jordan Thomas. This is I love this prospect, and really good to see that he's going to be able to get on campus March 21st. We reported Kyle. So yeah, he set 6 visits or something, and man, Notre Dame wasn't one of them, or was it a top 6? What was it that he did? He locked in 6 spring visits earlier this month. But then I was communicating with him, and he's like, yeah, I'm talking to Marcus Freeman right now. We're working on setting up a visit. And then you reported this yesterday or the day before. So 6'1", 185-pound corner, number 169 player, number 17 corner, comes from the same high school as Steve Angeli, Bergen Catholic in Oradell, New Jersey. Pretty friendly Notre Dame school. A lot of Fighting Irish fans, alums, just kind of, again, influence around that school. And one of my favorite jerseys. Like, I love their uniforms with the gold domes. Like, it looks sweet. Yeah, I would say Notre Dame's probably on the outside looking in. Like, maybe just have a little bit more ground to make up. I want to say this is his first visit to campus, or if it's not, it's his first time in a while. So what's your read on this recruitment, Kyle?
Yeah, he's going to see 6 other schools, as you mentioned, and 2 other teams got added to that list along with Notre Dame last night. He will also head out to Tuscaloosa to check out the Crimson Tide and Austin to see the Longhorns. So pretty national battle here for Jordan Thomas, but I've always felt that if Notre Dame can just get him to campus, it could completely change the trajectory of this thing. I think that Notre Dame feels he's a Notre Dame kid, so to speak. I think Jordan Thomas would be a great fit there. One of Mike Mickens' top targets. And I think Notre Dame can make a pretty big move on this visit. Jordan Thomas, before he began his high school career, he actually went to Notre Dame. His first technical trip to a campus in a college recruiting capacity. Went there to go camp at one of Notre Dame's high school prospect evaluation camps back in June of 2023. So he immediately, as soon as whoever had the sense that Jordan Thomas was a potential recruiting candidate, got him to campus to check things out a couple years ago, and Notre Dame's been working pretty dang hard to get him on campus again ever since that little June camp a few years ago. So I'm really going to be keeping an eye on this one to see how things shake out, because I think we've talked about in the past that the cornerback board is so narrow in 2026 right now. Only a few guys that are really, kind of have Notre Dame in their top schools. And Joey,
Sorry, it helps when you have one committed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we should hit on him real quick. He'll be back on campus on March 21st, as I reported earlier this week. And even though some Notre Dame fans were a little bit worried that he might look at a few other schools, I'm told that's not going to be the case. So
yeah,
we're going to keep tracking that one. That's going to be just like any recruit from the South and SEC country down there in Tennessee. I am considering Tennessee the South.
Yes, Tennessee's the South, Cal. And like kind of that surprising like commit. Like, it's like, oh, like I was hearing Clemson and Texas A&M, and Notre Dame was third, and it's like, oh, he pops for Notre Dame. So I think that's another kind of thing with it. Only visited Notre Dame once before the commitment. Not saying I think Chad Smith doesn't end up with the Fighting Irish, but just kind of, we've been doing this long enough where it's like there's different data points that you're like, all right, this definitely want to keep an eye on.
Yeah, all I can say right now is Notre Dame feels that as long as Mike Mickens is there,
Yeah.
that Chaz will sign with them, and everything I'm hearing out of just Miss side of the equation is that he's all in on Notre Dame at this point in time. So
All right. One other prospect to mention here, a multi-day unofficial visit. Is that right, Kyle? Matt Ludwig from Billings, West Montana. How about Notre Dame getting into Montana? 6'4", 230 pounds, number 161 overall player, number 9 tight end in America. Consensus 4-star prospect. Notre Dame offered him a few weeks ago and getting him on campus soon.
yeah, pretty intriguing recruitment here because kind of similar to Jordan Thomas, but maybe not as similar. But uh, before Ludwig, I think it was before his sophomore year, he made a trip out to Notre Dame to camp. Obviously, quite the quite the
Sure.
trip coming
Yeah.
from Montana to Notre Dame, but he did that, and he didn't have any offers or anything like that yet. And he
This
made it
kid
to
looks
South Bend,
awesome.
and this was just the second Power Five school or Power Four now school that he had ever visited. He went to Texas A&M, I think, before his high school career began, but he came and showed some early interest in Notre Dame. Has since pretty much blown up. You know, a lot of the most Power Four schools have offered him. He's down to a top four of Georgia, Michigan, Texas Tech, and Tennessee. Michigan is trending for him in the On3 recruiting prediction machine. There's a couple of predictions logged in favor of the Wolverines to land Ludwig's commitment. Steve Wiltfong has one of those picks in for Ludwig to end up in Ann Arbor. But after talking to Ludwig, he told me that, yeah, I am pretty loyal to my top four schools, but he said, more or less that Notre Dame is kind of an exception, and he wants to check them out. And um, it all it takes is that one visit, and I think he really wants to build a relationship with Mike Denbrock and things see how things end up um, there. So Notre Dame has really offered a lot of 2026 tight ends since the winter. They're going to get a lot of them on campus, and I think they're got a pretty good shot to get two of these guys. And Ludwig is someone that we're going to be tracking closely.
Wow, this film is I love this kid on tape. Man, he looks so much bigger than 6'4", 232. Like he looks like 6'6", like 235. Like what a monster here. Um Soft hands, good route runner. Competition doesn't even look that bad in Montana. They look like some good athletes on the field. I wasn't expecting that. I can't remember the last time I covered a Montana prospect. It's been a while, but this kid does look. He looks like a Notre Dame tight end to me. And Notre Dame's tight end board, we've talked about this at length, was kind of got going later. I think Mike Denbrock's focus was like, let me get this team to a national championship game, try to win it, and we'll deal with 2026 tight end recruiting after. They'd offered some guys, but we're not really pushing too hard for really anyone. But that's kicked into gear. And yeah, I teased earlier that there's some prospects who I've been told by sources are visiting this spring. There's one tight end recruit that to keep an eye on that I think is very notable. So there's just a lot of these guys going to get to campus this spring and summer. Notre Dame will sign 2 tight ends, and it's Notre Dame. They'll sign a couple good tight ends, but really do like this Matt Ludwig prospect from Billings West in Montana. Well, that is going to do it for this show. Make sure you hit the thumbs up on the video, subscribe to the channel for more content. If you're just joining us, make sure you if you're watching live, of course, rewind, watch the beginning, some great stuff from myself and Mr. Kyle Kelly. Make sure you go to blueandgold.com. If you have that itch for more Notre Dame recruiting coverage, head to the website and check out some of our other videos that we have done this week at Blue and Gold. Appreciate you all for watching, and as always, we will catch you next time.